Next on the agenda this evening, we have caucus. That's the time for council to discuss anything that may be happening during the legislation tonight they'd like to discuss. Do we have anything?
Mr. President.
Mr. Rapp?
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to bring up, just to let people know ahead of time what I intend to do tonight. On issue 15-04, during the first reading of that ordinance, which is the BSL law, my intent is to call for a vote to waive the 2-day reading rule. Follow, and should that pass, I want to follow that immediately with a motion to table to a time certain to March 16th. And I'll tell you the reason I'm doing this is when this went through Safety Committee, I urged the Safety Committee to pass this on to full council because of the outpouring of support that we have for this issue, that I felt it was necessary to have a vote of full council. I understand that in 2 weeks we won't have a full council here, so I'd like to push this back so that one, we can have a vote of full council, and two, that we'll have, for those people who haven't made up their mind yet, haven't made a decision, we'll have plenty of time and plenty of opportunity to do whatever, do research and due diligence they want on the issue.
Thank you, Mr. Rapp. Do we have anything else for council or caucus this evening? There are numerous letters for and 3 against the pitbull legislation. That objection will also be received and filed. There are numerous letters for and 3 against the pitbull legislation. That objection will also be received and filed.
15-04 by Mr. Rath and Mr. Marmee, an ordinance amending chapter.
There are numerous letters for and 3 against the pitbull legislation. That objection will also be received and filed.
618 of the codified ordinances of the City of Newark, Ohio regarding breed.
That objection is all.
Specific vicious dog designation.
Mr. Rapp.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to waive the 2-day reading rule on 15-04.
Motion by Mr. Raff to waive the 2-day reading rule, second by Mr. Marmee. I know you've already stated your reason, Mr. Raff, but you want to state it again?
Yeah, I think this deserves a vote on full council, and I want to waive it, which I'll do after we waive the 2-day reading rule.
Thank you.
Or table it, rather.
Jennifer, please call the roll to vote on waiving the 2-day reading rule on 15-04.
Mrs. Floyd?
No.
Mr. Guthrie?
No.
Ms. Hall?
No.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Marmee?
Yes.
Mr. Rath?
Yes.
Mr. Roletta?
No.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Bub?
No.
Mr. Cost?
No. So the 2-day reading rule has not been waived, so this will just be read again in 2 weeks for the second reading. Right, Director Sassen?
Correct.
Next we have ordinances on the first reading, 15-05. Just to explain to the group out here, if we'd had 6 votes, we would waive the 2-day reading rule. Mr. Raff is going to ask to we either vote on tonight, or he would ask to to table it. We didn't get enough votes, so it will be read for the second reading, which will be in 2 weeks.
1 day.
I'm sorry.
And 1 day.
2 weeks and 1 day. Yes, I'm sorry. The 16th is a holiday, so it'll be actually the 17th. Okay. Opportunity to speak. They have 3 minutes to speak on anything they'd like. In case you wonder what's going on, I'm sorry. Mrs. Floyd. Thank you, Mrs. Floyd. Mr. Guthrie?
Thank you, Mr. President. And I'm sure that we will have a good discussion in 2 weeks on the pit bull legislation, but I just did want to make a comment at this stage, and that is that it is a shame that we are dealing with this. As a matter of fact, the last legislation regarding this was sponsored by Ms. Loomis, and if I recall in the minutes, she said that legislation was fair and equitable. But you know what? One thing I've heard, the folks here have been very respectful. I may share a different opinion. But one thing I feel like I need to make clear from my perspective is it's not about the good owners that run this room. From my perspective is it's not about the good owners that run this room. From my perspective is it's not about the good owners that run this room. And there's a lot of good owners in this room. That's not why Ms. Loomis sponsored this the last time, I'm sure, to penalize the good owners. And so it's a shame that sometimes that there have to be laws on the books like this that impact good people because of bad ones. And I will just tell you folks, I mean, you deserve to know where I stand. I'm not going to vote to repeal this. I'm not going to vote to repeal this. I'll take all the heat. I'll take all the heat. I'll take all the heat. I'm not going to vote to repeal this. I'll take all the heat. I'll take all the heat. I'll take all the heat that comes with it. But I'm not going to. I've seen injury caused. And, sometimes, especially, I saw at this last meeting, we had some beautiful young children in this front row who probably have a pit bull in their home, and I'm sure that they have a loving relationship. I think of my own grandchildren, my loving grandchildren, and how, we've had dogs over the years, and my little granddaughter, who's very sick right now, has a wonderful dog that is her companion. And that is it's a wonderful thing. But once, and I know that understand Mr. Rath circulated an email I sent of the video of the dash cam from Cincinnati, and it did affect me. It did affect me. And so did the bite of the little girl from Heath, I believe in 2013 when I saw those pictures. That affected me too. And so I'm just one vote out of 10, but you need to know up front, I'm going to be honest with you, I cannot vote to repeal this. I'll take all the heat. I cannot vote to repeal this. I'll take all the heat. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Guthrie. Ms. Hall? Thank you, Ms. Hall. Mr. Johnson?
Well, I guess I'm on the other side of things. I just don't feel that we need to label one breed of dog as vicious when there are several others, obviously, that also have bitten people. And it comes back to the owner. And if the owner doesn't take care of it, the owner ought to be penalized. There's obviously, and penalized heavily. And that's my opinion.
That's the last time I'm going to tell you. Next time I'm going to clear the room. I've tried to be more than nice. No more of that. Either way. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Mr. Marmon?
Yes. I wasn't really prepared for this, but I did want to kind of share some information. I guess I want to start out by saying that the legislation, one of the first things that I think of anytime that we have legislation in front of us is, first of all, is it enforceable? If it's not enforceable, and it's not fairly enforceable, then we should not have it on the books. I really feel that this legislation is not really enforceable in a consistent manner. I think it's cost prohibitive, which is kind of a new point if we talk about safety, but there's no proof that the safety has changed because of this law. I'm trying to get to this. I guess I can start this off by saying that State Farm, although they are my bread and butter, I am sold on them. You know, I can tell you that I definitely kind of bleed State Farm. However, some things that you need to know about State Farm is they are the largest property and casualty insurer in the nation. They insure 1 out of every 5 homes, and they insure more homes than any other company. They have more statistical data than the government. If you ask anybody who's taken actuarial science in college, the one place that they want to work is for State Farm Insurance because it is the mecca of actuarial science. They know what they're doing, or else they wouldn't be as large as what they are. They wouldn't be as efficient, and they wouldn't be in your community, supporting your community. I want to share a video that State Farm put out. I can tell you, State Farm used to have breed-specific language. We used to ask the question, do you own a pit bull? Do you own, a specific breed of dog? We never asked if they owned a chow, but I can tell you what, chows cost our insurance company more money than any other breed of dog. We never asked if they owned a chow, but I can tell you what, chows cost our insurance company more money than any other breed of dog. This is kind of, I wish I could move this other thing. I hope it doesn't get in the way. Oh, it's not on yours, okay.